Why is it that we fear vulnerability and authenticity, and we're just chasing a life led by others' as expectations and external validation? I want you to deep dive into the mind with us as we shift the narrative to what is wrong with us to what is right with us. It's about unlocking your mind, shifting from flaws to strengths. There's a great quote by David Burns when he talks about the paradox of when we look deeply in what is wrong with us to actually understand that some of these things that are our greater strengths. I want to consider a little bit about perception. Our cultural narratives follow that story arc where, we've got the character in their current situation and they go to the depths of the belly of the whale or the magical world and they come back transformed. It's a story of transformation. If you look at all our great hero journeys and they come back. Even people now, psychedelics, go through some change. It's like, and I think Tim Ferriss referred to it as laying fresh powder snow into a mind that could be stuck in ruts. But this idea that it shifts and it smashes your perception so much that it dissolves the sense of self, where you're just sort of connected and you can't come out of that situation. I think Sam Harris says, you can sit and meditate forever, but your senses are attacked by an experience on psychedelics. I haven't had any, nor do I condone them. What I'm saying is that the journey and the experience is a shift in perception. And the reason that it's shifted so much is you can't go through that experience and not be transformed. There's a narrative or a story or a thing or an impression that we have to put back onto it to survive it almost and not go crazy. The rest is my interpretation. But the point is the hero's journey or a change in transformation. And a psychedelic experience is attack on the senses so much that people, the whole narrative, the whole story, shamans and guides and purging almost, is they come out of that cleanse and relaying a fresh powder snow of like the old tracks in the snow and then like fresh powdered and then go off and do a new direction. That's how I hear people describe it. And in our culture, in our Western culture at least, is all I understand from that angle, because I'm from a Western side, is that a hero's journey is put into this. It is a story of transformation. Brene Brown talks about vulnerability, and shame as a feeling that we say toxic shame, and I have to agree with that. David Burns tackles toxic shame or the therapeutic process is that he positively reframes people's emotions. And then once you get to that underlying value, you're understanding it's almost a sense that something is at threat. And that's how you feel, right? And I want to touch on, and I don't know why, and I think this is the question. I don't know whether is it a feature or is it a design flaw that we're not aware to those emotions, to those motivations. We're not aware of those values. Well, at least I haven't been, right? And it's taken me probably the last couple of years to really get in sync with who I am and what my values are, to come up with a value hierarchy. And the top of those is curiosity. I'm an intensely driven, curious person. And so it's taken me a long time to give permission to myself to be that, where I'm trying to fit in, to a group, where an organization or become something bigger than myself. So it's this balance between, we talked about order and chaos, but it's like the individual and the group. So if you give too much of yourself over to the group, then you forget who you are. If you give too much of yourself into a relationship, you lose yourself and you forget who you are. I did that for many years. And it doesn't need to be that, right? And if you look at Homath's, nice guy versus bad boy, it's this, as you move into that direction is that, and it's attractive to females, is that you need to take care of the bad boyness skills, need to look after yourself, be able to handle yourself in situations. And not be a psychopath, right? I went and watched Dune with the kids last night, Dune 2, and I thought that rates up there with some of the all-time best movies ever. They handled the cinematography, they handled the storyline, the characters, the development. But there was an example of what leadership is, a definition of leadership, and versus, the bad boy to the psychotic levels, right? And it is this care of people, this compassion to people, of leadership. And when we look at it these days, we treat it almost like, parenthood, right? You can be a tyrannical father, or you can be a father of drive and care, but it's that care. Like any leader needs to care about its people. And you look at the tyrannical leaders and the bad boy, the psychotics, is that they will sacrifice. their own towards their means. We look at history, look at any of those examples of what we would consider in the Western world classically evil, are those that are willing to put, put their people in front of as human barriers almost behind themselves. So some of the responsibilities of leadership, according to that definition, is to look out for the people. All right. So there's the group. We will trust you to lead you, but it's almost not about you. There is a role, and if you do not perform that role, you will be out of there. That tends to be what leadership is. So on one side, we've got this perfectionism and demanding high performance and results all of the time at the cost, otherwise you're out. We've got the wokeism where, that too is like, be careful what you say or you'll be cancelled and you're out, discarded from the group. And yet we've got this, we need to progress, and take ourselves forward. So the compassion side, you can be tyrannically compassionate, where everyone wins a prize, everything's flat all of the time, and that's not going anywhere. Or you can be hierarchically driven to the extreme, and that's not going anywhere. It needs to be a blend of both. That sometimes we need to pull together and have something enough in common to move ahead. And we also need to do it in a way that we care enough about each other that we can actually do that together as a group and bring everyone onto that journey. And if we take that in society, I think, whether it be Jordan Peterson or anyone else that talks to the value of actually sorting your own story out first before you go chopping into the world, is that relationship, in which I think the most important relationship that you have in life is the one that you have with yourself. So I think the key is unlocking your mind. There is a relationship between what your emotions have. If you understand, if you tip them over and look under that rock, that there's a set of values that are being tripped, and that's what a negative emotion represents. That's why they're hard to give up, because we think that if we give them up, that we're giving up something core to ourselves. And you don't have to. It's like, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you can still honor those values, and that's why you need to know the values. Noah Harari said that, I think a few years, which really got me started on this, is that you need to get to know yourself before the machines get to know you better than you know yourself. And I'll say that again. You need to know yourself, because one day the machines will get to know you better than you know yourself. And if you're in that position that you can be manipulated, now let's not turn that into conspiracy theory. Let's just see how it happens today. Nudge theory, all right? So you can nudge people in a direction. You can advertise. We're bombarded by advertisements. The whole model, or on Google and Facebook, is an advertising model. TikTok, right, is get your attention and show you stuff, and then you will buy, right? So your whole environment is saying, attention, attention, come here, you need this. Zuckerberg and all that will say, well, at least you're getting something relevant, Well, hang on, why are we even getting something in the first place? This deficit model that you're not enough, right? You're not enough. You set the standard here, and you're not here. And to get there, you need our product to either look good, better, behave better, be better, because you're not enough. And the thing is that you'll never get to that, right? And so therefore, this deficit of never feeling worthy enough, not enough money, not enough status, not enough cars, not enough career, not enough whatever, however you put it, right? And the whole thing seems to be built into this deficit. You are not enough. So the incentives around this whole thing, it's like the whole thing will come to a halt if we take the pedal off. I don't know whether there's inherent growth obligation. I don't know whether it's necessarily true. And I think, at what cost do we have to purchase and buy and gather everything? At what secondary cost, I don't think you have a good society if we all believe that constantly, and we just raise our kids and we're caught up. So, it goes further than our kids become a measure of worth, if they're not doing well, and the pressure on that. And that's the whole thing. I think it was Dead Poet Society pulled that out, where the standards, where the kid wants to go off and do one thing and was sensitive and wanted to be an actor, and you had this hardline parent saying, well, that's not acceptable in a family. And so you're holding down and destroying the natures and the personality of our kids. And if they're not playing, then they're put into a system where, it's compulsion to win, to perform, to compete. And we're off down that line tyrannically. and we're losing the love and compassion piece. So what are we wiring these military minds almost, the compulsion to do this? And we any better in a Western world that we criticize the East for, locking down into the group and unable to think and unable to do things and controlled by the state. And then in our world, Western world, we're afraid of what we can say. We're caught into this hamster treadmill of earning our worth. Not sure we've got the complete answer either. And wouldn't we want a society where people are leaning in? And I think there was a great saying, don't ask what the world needs, ask what lights you up. And the reason for that is the world needs people that are really lit up into what they can contribute. I think that's the goal here, right? People that are really plugged in, lit up, and getting going. And this goes to the core. You're really engaged, whether it be PERMA, Martin Seligman's measured, PERMAV, positive emotions, engagement, meaning, relationships, and accomplishment. And these are measures around well-being. And I think if you're going to get there around that, it's not just all consumerism. So I just wanted to share thoughts on that and where I've come out on it. And so you're here on Perceptual Aware, and we talk about people, ideas, and things that make our lives for the better. And I think self-awareness makes things better, and to know that ideas and thoughts come into your mind. Some things are upsetting because they're tripping on your personal values, and it makes sense to get to know those values. I've offered some tools and suggestions on how you can get to that, but I think on this journey is a journey of self-awareness, and that's where we're on. So best to you. Chris out.